Shipwrecks.
While there is still no word on a cure for the virus,
report suspicious activity in the call 911.
I can give you every assurance, Mr. Rooney, that Paris is home and he's very good.
If it was anybody, it's above us to pass us like 30 seconds ago. From the UFOs.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back to That Would Be Rad, the podcast that majors in 80s and 90s nostalgia, comic culture, all things paranormal, and minors in retro video games, tabletop RPGs, pre-internet mysteries, and raising our kids to be half as cool as we were back in the 80s. I'm your host, Tyler Bentz, and this is your other host,
Woody Brown.
the long-awaited return.
Yeah.
The Prodigal
Dude,
Sons.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny. I just rewatched the Office episode when they go to that convention. This is after Jim had gone to the other office, and he's like, the prodigal son. No, he says prodigal.
Yeah.
The prodigal. My son returned.
It's the best, dude.
Oh, man. What about all these scientist deaths?
I mean, totally not what we're talking about today, but let's dive into it for just a quick second. Strange
the people have
things
missed
are
us.
happening.
By the way, hold on. Before we get into this, this is my fault.
It's always your fault. I think they know that.
We want to welcome you back to a proper That Would Be Rad show. I'm not gonna go into it because I know I will ramble for like an hour on this. I'm so upset. I'm still to this day. I'm so upset. Basically, I'm to blame for a lot of this. There was some out of town stuff and all that good stuff. But the majority of these last few weeks of not having a show is my iMac that has everything on it completely crashed, and my hard drive that everything is also backed up on seems to also be having issues. So if any of our listeners know of any reliable data recovery for hard drives and or iMacs, hit us up, because I'm like kind of freaking out. So everything, like, we're recording on like a brand new iMac, and all the plugins are different, so it may even sound a little different.
Yeah, it's like a learning experience, or there's a learning curve involved.
Yeah.
Especially for Tyler.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean that in a bad way. It's your iMac, not mine.
I hate it. If I could go back to my 2020 iMac instead of this brand new and with all the bells and whistles, I absolutely would, because not having any plugins and mixing stuff it sucks. But we're so glad to be back. We have this overwhelming sense of guilt every week that passes that we can't hang out with you guys, and
well, Tyler has guilt because it's his fault, and I have just pure anger.
I also have a lot of anger with this current situation. But anyway, diving back in, I think we have 14 scientists that have died.
What Tyler means to say is in the news. It's kind of hard to ignore before we dive into a really cool history mystery here. And 14, I think maybe even more actually, that haven't been named, scientists who all have some connective tissue in the realm of UFO study and research. But also there's, it branches into physicists and nuclear scientists and aerospace engineers and astrophysicists and all this kind of stuff. And, one or two, because you see some of the videos, and I mean, I'm not... some of them, let's just say, if I'm judging solely on the video, the mental stability could be a little questionable. Some of them, man. Some of them.
I don't know about
Now, that said, when some of them just purely vanish, others are unalived in kind of strange circumstances, and others are unalived and, supposedly on their own, from their own hand. It's a bizarre thing that's going on, and it's just something that I think right now even everybody's kind of talking about, even on just mainstream national news. It makes you wonder, is it well, there's just a lot of different things it could be.
Well, the weird thing too is I feel like there was a point in time to where your true believers like us, like, we've always liked stuff like Ancient Aliens and that kind of stuff. Even though at this point in my sort of belief system, I'm probably like, I've strayed a little from a lot of that stuff in like what I believe a lot of the stuff is. However, it is strange that I think it's at least like 5 or 6, maybe more, have all been like pretty prominent guests on Ancient Aliens, which is really interesting. And there's the theory that I read, I think this morning, where somebody was saying, and hold on, let me preface by, I don't believe in disclosure. I think it's all kind of BS. I don't think we'll ever know anything. I don't think our government feels like it owes us any sort of, hidden knowledge or anything. So anything that is released intentionally by our government, I feel like
there's a motive behind it.
There's a motive, and more than likely it's just another psyop on a psyop. But it is strange because there is this theory that like, okay, well, maybe there is something coming around the corner, and I kind of do believe that it's probably at least adjacent to the Project Bluebeam, which we've done an episode on, which you're just seeing a lot of. But it is interesting that like a few of them, their specialty was on like anti-gravity tech. I think that's really interesting. But the theory is that there's something that's coming around. Like, I guess maybe the powers that be are aware of like something like coming out to the public, and so they are kind of like
getting rid of the authorities of
getting rid of like
sure.
the quote unquote like pushback before they have a chance to push back.
I got you.
You know,
I have a different theory.
What's your theory?
It's Garth Brooks.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, real quick, I also have the other theory that maybe the whole thing is a psyop, like the Challenger mission, and they're not even dead at all. This is just to add to this, Project Bluebeam thing that they're about to drop.
I'm not getting into it. Okay. Listen, folks. I want to stay on target here and kind of and sort of steer us back into what today's episode's actually going to be about. But we did want to, that's significant news and it's interesting for sure. But before we jump into today's topic, I got to give a big shout out to listener Matt Armstrong, who sent this topic over to us because he knew that we would be obsessed with it immediately. And the truth is, amongst all the stories and topic ideas that we get, it's kind of hard to pick one and, just move forward with it. But I was just kind of looking over some stuff and I thought, man, this one, there's just something about it that it's amazing. It's like this old school, it's like old school history mixed with, straight up just nightmare fuel. And it comes from the Southwest. So it's a story that both Tyler and I weren't familiar with.
Never heard of. Yep.
And
way to go.
Yeah. That's always just, a blue ribbon kind of find. So anyway, Matt, thanks again. This one's for you, pal. So today, folks, we're going to be talking about Spanish explorer Álvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca. And this absolutely just insane survival story that he lived through. And of course, topping it all off, because that's not enough to make it sort of rad strangeness. There's this creature that the native tribes told him about called Mala Cosa.
Oh, love it.
Now, what's interesting is it's not just some sort of vague legend. This actually comes verbatim from the guy, Cabeza de Vaca, who actually walked across most of what is now Texas and northern Mexico in the 1530s, naked, starving, and trading with tribes for years. And in this book that he wrote, I think it's called, oh man, hold on, I've got it. Or in this book called A Land So Strange, there's just like this excerpt about this experience that he had and the sort of natives telling him about this. So buckle up, because this is just, again, one of the coolest stories I've ever heard about.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, let's set the stage here. Picture this. It's 1527. Spain at the time is kind of just, absolutely sort of drunk on this New World gold fever. You've got ships, just full-on armadas, sailing back, loaded with treasure from the Aztecs. And so every ambitious noble kind of wants a piece of the action, as you can imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even King Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor himself, hands a charter, okay, over to this battle-scarred, one-eyed conquistador named Panfilo de Narvaez. And the mission is to conquer and settle this massive stretch of territory from the Rio de las Palmas in Mexico all the way up through Florida. He basically wants him to go and claim it for Spain.
Yeah.
Now, Narvaez rounds up 5 ships and roughly about 600 men, made up of like hardened soldiers, hopeful settlers, a few women. Okay. And, well, because it was the 1500s, handful of slaves too.
Okay.
Among this crew is our guy, Álvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca.
Man, you're I just got to say, you're doing fantastic at that.
On the names?
Yeah, the names are
Hey, man,
wonderful.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Check this out, though, man. His name, so his last name, okay, Cabeza de Vaca.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how much Spanish you took at White Creek.
I cheated
Boy, here it
all
comes.
the way through. I did really well, but
But can you even guess what that might mean?
Cabeza is no.
Nice. Nothing. So his name literally translates to head of a cow or cow's head. Now, that sounds kind of insulting if you know, at first glance, you're like, dude, they got big old cow's head in the family.
Yeah.
But check this out. It's this sort of bad A family badge of honor from an ancestor who supposedly marked a crucial battlefield with a cow's skull so that the Spanish could rally.
So kind of like just hanging up.
Just out there, marking this battlefield.
Yeah.
So the thing about Cabeza de Vaca is he isn't some sort of wide-eyed dreamer. He's this seasoned soldier who's fought in Italy and the brutal wars back home in Spain. And for this trip, he's the royal treasurer. And so basically he's supposed to keep the king's cut safe, guard it. But according to him, even at the beginning, he has this sort of sinking feeling that this whole thing is cursed from the start. Now, part of this story sort of reminded me of the book that I read about Ferdinand Magellan and how a lot of these expeditions that you know of went terribly bad. Of course, they're not telling you that in elementary school because, they don't want to talk about such intense stuff. But so this crew, they set sail from Spain in June of 1527.
Okay.
They're full of swagger and dreams of glory, I mean, first off, I feel like you have to be a certain kind of brave back then to just get on a ship and just be like, well, who knows?
Yeah, here we go.
You know what I mean?
See. Yeah.
Hope they pick some pretty ladies. Anyway, the first stop is the Caribbean. And this is where things already start to unravel. I feel like these guys might be more like you and I, man, because dozens of men begin to desert. And because they're tempted by easier lives on the islands.
Yeah, that's me.
For sure. Kind of reminds me of Michael Scott when he comes back from Jamaica. He's got the 3 beads on his.
Yeah.
He's like, feeling hot, hot, hot.
Yeah.
And he's just doing the dance. Okay. Where, think about it. They get to these beautiful islands, dissimilar to, things in Spain. Just clear, beautiful water. Everything's just chill there, And they're like, dude, what does it say? It already took us this long to get here. I'm not going anywhere else. There's beautiful women everywhere. They got piña, whatever. Well, disaster kind of really hits after this because a savage hurricane slams into Cuba and smashes ships, drowns a lot of sailors, and sort of scatters their supplies all over the place. As I guess, armada, they barely sort of limp forward, and by the spring of 1528, they finally reach Florida on the coast near Tampa Bay. But of course, they're way off course. Their supplies are just critically low, and tensions are just boiling, Narvaez, the guy that's leading this expedition, makes the first of many sort of fatal decisions, and he splits the force. Now, if you play D&D,
Oh, yeah.
And, or if you are a fan of horror movies, the thing that you never do is split up the party.
Yeah,
man,
never.
right?
Yep.
It weakens you. And now you got, the enemy coming in from all sides. So what he does is he takes about 300 men and he marches boldly inland, convinced that they'll link up with the ships later along the coast. Cabeza de Vaca kind of urges some caution here. He's like, come on, man, I don't think you should do that. You never split the party.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that in Spanish, but I know never is nunca, right?
Okay.
I know I took 4 years in high school and a couple years in college. So, mucho te crisi.
There it is.
But, of course, Narvaez wouldn't listen. So they pushed through this hostile territory and they began clashing with fierce tribes like the Appalachee, who, in Florida at the time are just like deadly. So they're raining down arrows and death from the trees and cover. And, these Spanish conquistadors just don't even know what to do, right? There's no gold here. There's no cities of riches, just endless swamps, because you're thinking about the Florida,
Like Everglades.
in that area. Again, man, think about you being in the shoes of one of those guys, a crewman, right? You're just following along. You're like, my gosh, it's hot. You're in the Florida swamps. Your friends were just, your friends Tyler and Woody were like, nah, man, we're staying here in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
These guys are just tromping through the swamps, just getting killed by the Appalachee, and you're dying of disease, starvation. So they're running out of supplies. They even slaughter and eat their own horses one by one just to stay alive.
I've heard horse is actually pretty good.
Oof, I don't know. I mean, if you're trying to stay alive,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's delicious. Well, by the time they stagger into the Florida Panhandle, they're sort of almost shells of themselves. Ghosts of this like sort of proud army that had originally landed. In a last-ditch effort, they build 5 really kind of rickety barges from whatever kind of scraps they have left. Wood from the forest, horse hides they stretched for sails, shirts sewn into rigging, and nails that they melted down from their own armor and weapons, which is just crazy, man.
Wow, that is crazy.
Now it's September in 1528. Only about 240 survivors shove off into the Gulf of Mexico, praying that they'll just kind of drift safely into Mexico. But, of course, man, the ocean,
Yeah.
it's unpredictable and it had other plans. These violent storms just hit them hard and scatter this makeshift fleet all across everywhere.
Yeah.
And the main guy, Narvaez, there we go. Yeah, Narvaez, his own raft just vanishes. And he's never seen again, dude. Speaking of missing 411.
Yeah.
Cabeza de Vaca's group drifts for weeks on end. They're suffering from thirst, starvation, the sun, like beating down mercilessly. It's kind of like, I don't know if this ever happens to you. Probably not. Well, definitely not, because you don't really go out in the sun much. But,
Never have.
whenever I go on like our beach vacation, I'm kind of notorious for just being like, I don't need sunscreen, man.
Oh, I'm the
my
same
wife's
way,
like,
dude.
My wife's like, your olive complexion here is still going to get sunburned. I'm like, babe, you don't know how it is. So I am just out there all day long. Day 2,
Yeah.
I've got like a long sleeve shirt on and I'm just hating it.
Same, dude. I get burnt like the first day every single trip I go on.
Well, dude, that's because, white wouldn't even be like an accurate description of your skin tone. What would you call it? Translucent.
Well, the funny thing is I actually have like a little bit of an olive tone also, but I never get in the sun, so I just sort of look like yellow.
Sickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Very sickly.
Scurvy. Speaking of sailors and their the challenges that they face, Tyler kind of looks like one of those guys. Malnourished, sickly.
But no beard.
He's not doing well.
I can't grow the beard, so.
Can't grow a beard.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Richard Kimball doesn't feel well.
Just bad shape.
Yeah. Not really pleasant to look at.
to look at.
Oh, okay. So
That's so rude.
And the reason I brought that up is just imagine just having to trek in that. There's no escape from it. You're out in the middle of the sea. You're on these makeshift rafts. You're just floating around. If it were me, I'm just seasick already the whole time.
For sure.
You're starving. Bodies sort of slipping silently into the water. Then, in early November of 1528, 2 of these barges finally wash ashore on a barren barrier island that the survivors grimly named Malhado, which translates to Isle of Doom.
Doesn't sound good.
So historians kind of argue whether or not this is Galveston Island or nearby Follett's Island. But
Wait, real quick. Like, who told them that this is what the island was called?
well, here's what happened. Once these Spaniards sort of stagger onto this sand, it's now cold. Even though it's Texas, it's still cold, and it's November, and they barely have any clothes anymore, and they're freezing, they're emaciated, and they're probably just like almost half crazy from just the sun exposure and thirst and all of that. Well, the local Karankawa and related coastal tribes end up finding them.
Okay.
And at first, there's this tiny flicker of mercy. The Indians give them food and shelter. But then disease explodes in sort of both directions with the Spanish and the Indians. Smallpox, dysentery, all this kind of stuff. And so the Spanish and the natives kind of start dying off. And within months, the body count is sort of horrifying. Of the 80 or so who first reached the island, most of them are dead by spring.
Jeez.
Some of the desperate Spaniards even turned to cannibalism, man.
Yeah.
Eating the bodies of their fallen comrades. But at this point, only about 15 are still breathing.
And how big was the group before? Like, what was like the...
Well, it got whittled. It started off when they left Spain, 600.
Jeez.
Then they split it up to 300, and of those 300, 15 are left.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
And this is kind of where like the real odyssey begins, because Cabeza de Vaca and the handful of survivors are then taken as slaves by these Indians, and then they're traded like goods between rival tribes along this coast. Like, how scary would that be?
Yeah.
You don't speak their language.
You're just waiting for the day. You're like, any day now I'm dead.
And they don't give them clothes, dude. They make them they're just completely naked for years. They're surviving on roots and raw oysters and, prickly pear fruit, whatever the harsh land kind of offers. Well, he kind of gradually becomes a trader. And he sort of starts walking dangerous trails between these groups of natives. I guess he earns their trust and learns their languages, their customs, and even their secrets. And all the while, he's kind of observing everything, storing it away for this book that he'll later write.
And are we saying like years later at this point? Yeah.
Okay. No, how many years has he sort of been doing this?
Yeah, well, like with the tribe and stuff to like gain their trust.
Yeah, so let's see, that was 1528. So I would say like 3-4 years.
Jeez, I mean, that's a long time.
So anyways, he kind of stores away all this information and ends up writing this book called La Relacion, which accounts this time that he was here. But anyway, you fast forward to about 1533 to 1534. Now, out of the 15, there's only 4 men left from that original army of 600.
Okay.
There's Cabeza de Vaca, a guy named Alonso del Castillo Maldonado. Castillo, you're right. Andres Dorantes de Carranza. How'd you like that?
I like
and
that.
And Dorantes has this enslaved Moroccan guy that's kind of been with him this whole time named Estebanico, or Esteban is what they call him. And it's actually, he's this really tough, resourceful dude who becomes crucial to their survival. Anyway, so they're living among these tribes like the Abavares and Mariames, I think is what it's called, in south central Texas, right in the heart of the prickly pear cactus country this is kind of the time when everything shifts from just pure survival to almost something miraculous, because these 4 dudes, okay, they're ragged. For years, they're just malnourished. It's kind of a miracle they're even alive.
They're still around.
They start to gain this reputation as healers. Cabeza de Vaca prays over the sick. He uses what little first aid knowledge he has, and astonishingly, people begin to recover. So amongst the tribes, word kind of spreads like wildfire that, like, hey man, there's these 4 men, and they can heal people. They can heal your sick. It's miracles. It's magic. And so the people start calling them, the tribes themselves start referring to these 4 men as children of the sun. In 1534, they finally kind of slip away from their captors and begin this long trek westward. And dude, I'll hold on, check this out. Here's a map of the trek all the way. It kind of shows when they landed in Santiago and then over in Cuba.
Holy cow.
And then, so on foot is the solid line, dude.
I mean, that's got to be years and years. That's insane.
So they start to kind of almost like grow this like entourage of native people seeking healing and protection. So they're able to like leave, but they're not being chased. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
They're not escaped prisoners at this point or slaves. They're people that are being sought after by natives. They've got this reputation, and they just walk across these vast stretches of what now is Texas and deserts and Chihuahua in Mexico, and apparently possibly even, kind of coming into parts of New Mexico and Arizona. But they trade goods, they broker peace between warring bands, and they continue this, quote unquote, strange healing work as they go. 8 long, brutal years after that first landing in Florida, in the spring of 1536, they finally stumble into a group of Spanish slave raiders near Culiacan in Sonora, Mexico. And the Spaniards are stunned speechless because they see these 4 emaciated, deeply tanned Europeans speaking fluent native languages, walking freely with hundreds of Indians who refuse to let anyone enslave them.
Wow.
And from there, they go to Mexico City, and then, of course, the long voyage back to Spain in 1537.
Good Lord. I mean, what a life.
I know, right? And what's crazy about this, too, is like, never heard of it.
No.
Right? I mean, so he sails back in 1537. He writes this book, his account, and it's first published in 1542. So it's been around since 1542, and I've never heard of it.
And is it like you say book, but is it probably more just like a memoir,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's almost like actually, I take that back. The one about Ferdinand Magellan is a book that used like the ship manifests and then sort of built around that.
Right.
This is like in his own words, the story of this journey, basically.
Okay.
And then this other book that came out called A Land So Strange by Andreas Resendez was the one that Matt told me about. And that's the book that he read that he learned about this stuff. And again, even though all of that is crazy and all of that is intense.
Yeah.
One of the things that makes it, well, honestly, the real part of the story that's perfect for our show is that while they were living with the Avavares and the Mirames tribes back in south central Texas, the Indians sat these 4 survivors down. And they told them about something that happened 15 or 16 years earlier, before these guys were here, around 1518 or so.
Okay. Something
that still haunted the people. And they called it Mala Cosa, which translates to the bad thing.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
This NBA playoffs with FanDuel, you're not just watching the playoffs, you're a part of them.
Steve's got the phone, opens FanDuel, and he's going for threes.
Be a part of the action on FanDuel. All customers get a profit boost every NBA playoff game day. 21 plus and present in select states. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no dead.
Hey, this is Woody.
And this is Tyler. And you're listening to That Would Be Rad.
And now back to our show.
That's
What do you
awesome.
think, pal?
I think it's awesome. I love it.
All right. Like I said, this is where the story takes a turn and gets into the truly rad and the strange and kind of terrifying. Like I said, this is something that happened 15 or 16 years before Cabeza de Vaca and his three other companions here had made it to this section of central South Texas.
Okay.
And this Mala Cosa, or the bad thing, people, as they were talking about it, were just absolutely terrified, right? But just imagine, man, you've trekked across a long land, you've sort of survived in this unknown region of the world. You've seen 596 of your compatriots die.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, you're naked and scarred from years of slavery and survival, and you're listening to these people, and you've been sort of, wanting you to sort of heal the sick and all this kind of stuff. And they start telling you about a nightmare that used to walk among them.
So real quick though, are you saying that like they basically went from being a slave, and then because of this sort of this sort of folktale of them being like healers, then they kind of became like a protected commodity almost?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And so they're sitting around, I imagine they're just sitting around this campfire, and some of the folks begin to tell this story about something that happened 15 years previously. Okay. And what's interesting, it was 1518 or 1520, right around the time other Spanish ships were sort of poking along the Gulf Coast. And this strange little figure began to appear in their camps. They said that he wasn't like any man that they knew. He was small of stature, but carried with him this unnatural power. He wore a beard, which already kind of set him apart because, of course, most of the local tribes couldn't grow full facial hair.
Like me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is me. Like I'm the thing.
You're the
short statured. Well, that would be you actually, the short part, but
okay. Well,
no beard. I'll take that one.
No matter how close they got to him, though, they could never quite see his face clearly. They said that it was almost as if shadows clung to him. Whenever he approached their dwellings at night, the people said that their hair would stand on end, and a cold tremor would run through the entire lodge. Then, without warning, a firebrand or a burning stick would appear floating in the doorway, casting flickering shadows like something straight out of a fever dream. The bad thing, or the Mala Cosa, would step inside. He'd grab whomever he wanted with a sharp flint knife, they said, that was broad as a man's hand and 2 palms long. He'd slice open their side. And then, and now I forgot to kind of do like a little bit of a, hey, if you've got young children, this is going to get a little bit on the gory side, I guess. So now's a good time to press pause. This is PG-13 leaning into PG-16. I don't know.
Viewer discretion is advised.
So anyway, there he was. He's got this sharp flint knife. It's like broad as a man's hand, which is, pretty broad. And it's kind of like a short sword, really. I don't know. 2 palms long, okay? And he'd slice open their side. He'd thrust his hand deep into the wound, man, and pull out their entrails.
Wow.
He'd then cut off a piece of about a palm's length and casually throw it into the fire. Apparently after that, he'd sometimes make 3 cuts on one of the victim's arms, right where people usually sort of bled themselves, and he'd twist the arm out of socket like it was nothing and snap it back into place. Now, this is where it gets even weirder, dude, because finally, at the end, he'd lay his hands on the wounds, and the people swore that the gashes would close instantly, leaving only scars as proof that it had ever happened.
Man.
What do you think about that?
I mean, that's... The whole thing is, like, so weird. And so, like, what was the purpose in this? Like,
well... Okay, so he didn't stop there, okay? Sometimes he'd appear right in the middle of their sort of ceremonial dances.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes dressed as a woman, other times dressed as a man. He'd shapeshift between genders like it was nothing.
Man.
If the mood struck him, he'd grab listen to this, dude. This is so insane. He'd grab the entire lodge or hut and lift it straight up into the air and slam it back down into the ground with a crash that would shake the earth.
What?
He never ate their food.
Yeah.
He never stayed very long. But when the terrified people finally sort of worked up the courage to ask where he lived, he'd point to a crack in the ground and simply say, "Down below."
Wow.
Now, as these Indians were telling Cabeza de Vaca these stories, they would show him the scars on their sides and arms, these real sort of physical marks that they couldn't make up, you know?
Yeah.
At first, this, pragmatic guy, Cabeza de Vaca, would just sort of laugh it off. Like, he figured it was just one of those boogeyman tales parents tell to keep their kids in line. The thing that we always say, the cautionary tale,
Cautionary,
right?
Yep.
But the consistency of these stories and the shared terror across different groups of these people and those visible scars started to make it sort of sink in.
Yeah, that's really strange.
I mean, insanely strange.
But like, sort of this, I don't know what you call it. Like, I mean, it's sort of a ritual. Like this sort of ritualistic sort of collection of steps to like do this thing. Like, the 3 slices on the arm, the, not like pulling it out of socket and then putting it back. Like, what were the, like, what do the people believe like the reason was behind that?
Yeah, they don't know.
Like, were they saying it was like a good thing? Like, oh, he's gonna heal us?
No. It's just something terrifying that like basically terrorized their group for a time, and then poof, it vanished. And for Cabeza de Vaca, he's a devout Catholic Spaniard, right, from that quote old world. He basically came to one conclusion, that it had to be the devil himself, sent to torment these people. He sort of told them as much and began teaching them to make the sign of the cross and pray to the Christian God for protection.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they hadn't seen the bad thing since.
I mean, it's definitely what we've talked about on the show, like the sort of the phantom stranger, I think the example that I always bring up, which I mean, I've heard like multiple sort of tellings of this story in slightly different variations, but you have for our new listeners, you have your, some castle somewhere in the British Isles, and they're throwing like a huge banquet or a feast, and then suddenly the door opens, and darkening that doorway is like some guy that nobody's ever seen. He's soaking wet from the storm outside, and he doesn't eat the food, which is a common Comte de Saint-Germain thing. He would never eat their food or drink their drink. He would bring like little vials of whatever it was he was consuming. But with the Phantom Stranger thing, there's multiple tellings to where nobody ever knows him, but he's able to tell like amazing stories, or he's like a master musician or whatever, and then either he disappears, or as he's leaving, people would spot either a tail or like a forked tongue or hooves. I always say hooves.
It's always one of those words that I'm like, did I say it right?
Yeah.
Hooves.
It's like poem.
You say poem weird.
I say poem. Poem.
God.
But yeah, this sort of trope is like pretty common in like folklore around the world.
Mm-hmm.
But with this one, it's so interesting because I feel like there's something happening in what this entity is actually doing that I can't quite like figure out.
Right. I mean, just to circle back and to kind of compress it into one sort of sentence about, or paragraph of what this guy is, to remind everyone. He's a small, bearded outsider who shows up with his flaming brand. He performs grotesque surgery on living people, rips out their organs, heals the wounds on the spot, lifts entire houses like they're toys, shapeshifts gender at will, and then claims to live underground.
Man, I mean,
I have to say, out of all the things that we've talked about, this one might be one of the craziest.
Yeah, I mean, also, I kind of wanted to... I mean, the fact that he's like sort of small and like diminutive in stature, like that, to me, that sort of takes off, you know, any of the sort of giant kind of Nephilim kind of context. But he definitely has like intense like power. I mean, it almost seems like, I don't know, like almost like some sort of like hybrid thing, because he has like a beard. I mean, that's like, you know, that's not a very common thing with these things. Yeah, I'm thinking of like, okay, if he says he's underground, like it reminds me of like the Kelly Hopkinsville goblins or whatever. So like maybe it's some sort of hybrid and like he's using the beard to just kind of like cover up, but then he's able to like shape shift. So that kind of gets into, is that like sort of more like skinwalker territory? I mean, that is sort of prime for that area, I guess.
Well, it's kind of like one, and even, I mean, you're right. And one of the things I was going to say that's more on the like sort of less, so you've got those supernatural sort of possibilities or cryptid possibilities, but then you've also got, is it a rogue medicine man from a rival tribe that's running the ultimate psychological warfare? Or
but that's what they say the skinwalkers are. They say they're basically like we look at them as monsters, but the tribes people, they looked at them as like rogue sort of witches. You know,
was it a shipwrecked European from an earlier voyage that went sort of feral and just sort of terrified the locals, right? Because maybe he didn't speak their language, but he knew some medicine. And maybe somebody was having like a gallbladder attack and he's like, don't worry. And to them, they've never seen this kind of stuff. And so they kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like he's all he's doing is like just surgery. And they're like,
oh, like, my gosh, he's got this.
Yeah, he's like.
and maybe that brand, he's just trying to cauterize the wound.
The cauterizer wound, yeah. That's interesting. But lifting up the whole tent, that's.
Yeah, I know. How does he do that?
That could be like, I mean, that
anti-gravity. Could be like, now we're back to the beginning.
Now we're back to David Wilcox.
Or dude, like you were saying, maybe it's something older, something that has always been there, slipping between the cracks of our world or whatever. Now, before critics, of course, I mean, here we are, I mean, so far in the future, but it's easy. Like if this book came out now,
right,
it'd be so easy for someone to say, well, I mean, this guy just kind of sounded like, give him an orange, he's got scurvy, you know.
Right.
We don't know what's going on with this guy. But keep in mind, this book that he wrote is packed with practical, almost like scientific observations about plants, customs, healing practices, and daily survival. And then just sort of in the middle of this thing, almost as if just like a footnote, is this story. And he includes it because the people that he lived with treated it as cold, hard history, not myth.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy to me. And
you know what it kind of, I mean, this is sort of a way out there sort of comparison, but it kind of reminds me of, you know, we sort of have a belief, and we're definitely, we actually were going to do a full sort of possible series, if not like big episode last season, on the existence of like dragons and how in every single culture, for the most part, all across the world, they have something that looks like a dragon. Now your debunkers could say, oh, well, this is just they're just talking about dinosaurs. They've kind of lost me a little on dinosaurs, but I think this feels a little like his book, like you're saying. It's like all this mundane things. It's kind of like the Chinese horoscope. It's like rat, pig, chicken, and then suddenly dragon.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. That doesn't, like, why do you have all these other things and then suddenly you have like a mythical beast? Whereas like to them, it wouldn't have been. It just would have been like another animal.
Right.
And so to this guy, it's like, yeah, this entity is doing all these things, and maybe it is sort of at least partially built on tall tales and folklore, but it was something that was a daily part of their existence, like something that existed that they would run into here and there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fascinating, man.
Let's take a quick break, and when we get back, I want to see how this thing sort of lines up with anything else that we've heard of from Texas, Mexico, and the Southwest.
We'll return after these messages.
It's a pretty cool place if you're a Martian.
Or a vampire. You think you really know what's happening around here, don't you?
Is anyone out there?
We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
Hey, this is Woody.
And this is Tyler. And you're listening to That Would Be Rad.
And now, back to our show.
Dude, this is awesome.
It's incredible, dude.
I've never heard of this character, but I mean, again, it's one of those things, and to our longtime listeners, you're probably tired of us saying this, but it's just the amount of sort of high strangeness surrounding this thing. Like, it would be one thing if, it was just coming in the place and sort of, disemboweling somebody, or like doing sort of these vicious things and then leaving. But the fact that it's able to like lift a whole tent, he's like pulling bones out of socket and then putting them back in, and it's just
again,
so
probably
strange.
just the medicine man just being like, "Oh, you broke your arm, dude. Let me set that for you."
I actually really, as much as I don't like that theory, I actually do also like the theory.
This poor little short guy is just like, I gotta get out of here, man. These people are crazy, dude.
Oh man, yeah, that's awesome.
He's pointing down in the crack, meaning like the other side of the world. Anyway,
yeah. What do you think that could mean?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Is this an inner Earth creature?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, kind of.
I mean, it also reminds me of, and Matt, whenever I let him know that we were going to be talking about this, I said, I don't know if you've ever read Manifest Destiny, the comics, but it completely reminds me of that as well. And he, of course, had and agreed. So
nice, Matt. Nice. We're proud of you.
Yeah. All right. So, a lot of cryptid folks sort of call this, believe it or not, again, it's amazing that we haven't heard of it, but they call it one of the earliest recorded North American Bigfoot type accounts. Now, again, if you've listened to the show, you know that there is sort of the quote unquote traditional Sasquatch, Bigfoot, large thing that we've talked about, but we also talk about adjacent creatures that are similar, that kind of are related. So the beard and the hairy face thing is huge here, but especially because, like we said, most local tribes didn't grow full beards. So no matter what, he already stood out as an outsider. Then you add in the immense strength, like lifting entire lodges in the air and slamming them down.
To me, that's the anomaly here. If we're taking that at face value, that this really happened, this isn't based on some tall tale. Like, this is the part that, I mean, all the other stuff is like I could kind of foresee, but like this is just very well. And the shapeshifting, though, being able to assume gender. But was he just? Do they actually mean he was like more like just dressing up like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, for example, if he was just like either a not necessarily neighboring tribe, but like a tribe from far off, and he showed up wearing like the clothing of a tribe that like was very unfamiliar to them. Maybe they just looked at that and they were like, oh, well, it's similar to what our women wear.
Right.
Like, is that what they're talking about? Or are they saying like, no, he legitimately, Well, actually, if he didn't have a beard, though,
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
he's appearing as a woman. Like,
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of like the only thing I could relate it to would be if we were time travel. You would definitely be mistaken for a woman.
oh yeah, yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
You know, I really like that in these last
Sickly though, a sickly woman.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
She's definitely got scurvy.
Scurvy. Yeah. I do like that we've really embraced like the yes and
Right.
sort of technique in this podcast. Like we're beyond like making fun of each other and then us just like
diving in.
We just take it now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can say that for myself. For you, when I bring up the ear pinning and then you getting the calf implants, it's
but I don't even know where those. That's just so stupid.
See,
Okay.
there you go. You're pushing
Listen,
back. That's my point.
Gonna get cut out anyway.
No.
What's interesting though is Texas has its own sort of hairy wild man stories that go back centuries. Back in the
His name's Woody.
1830s, huh?
His name was Woody.
No, back in the 1830s, along the Navidad River in Lavaca County, settlers actually reported the wild woman of the Navidad. This hairy, ape-like female creature that would flee into the brush. People would find these giant footprints and hear strange calls for years. And you fast forward and you've got the Caddo critter, which happens around Caddo Lake on the Texas-Louisiana line.
Yep.
This big, dark-furred, ape-like thing spotted for decades. Or the Lake Worth monster just outside of Fort Worth. In 1969, witnesses described a towering, hairy beast that was part goat, part man, that was hurling tires at cars.
Oh, have we talked about this?
We haven't talked about Lake Worth monster now.
The hurling tire, like that sounds really familiar to me. Maybe, I think I've read about this before.
And then you've got I think it's Magellan monster in Arizona. This another big hairy humanoid that sort of haunted the rugged Magellan Rim and Grand Canyon area. The first sighting of it was in 1903. Again, it's sort of like foul-smelling, upright walker that screams at night and avoids people, but definitely makes its presence known. It's like the Southwest's version of Sasquatch, just a little bit on the weird side.
They're sort of like the skunk ape with it smelling. I mean, they're all kind of known to smell, but
right. Now, on the more supernatural side, like Tyler had mentioned, and I'm glad you did, because I felt like there's some of these vibes big time. There's something about this that screams skinwalker, right? And you've got the Navajo and other Southwest tribes that talk about these shape-shifting witches who can appear as people or animals. They can cause sudden sickness or fear, and of course mess with you physically. They're tied to evil and often invade homes or show up during ceremonies. You know, the gender switching stuff that the Mala Cosa could do,
right?
You know, and the way it physically harms them and then vanishes. You know, there's some similarities there for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's actually pretty like similar to the Skinwalker stuff. I mean, if you're looking at it as like a whole, especially all the gender stuff, and do we have any?
Nope. I've already given you all the info I've got on it.
So there was never any sort of like appearing as like more of like an animal type.
No.
Like it was always very like a person, like a humanoid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder though, as far as skinwalkers go, maybe the first skinwalker and conquistador encounter sort of led to this like crummy version of what it thought, you know, these types of people looked like, and then that's what that skinwalker just used to shapeshift into to terrorize these tribes. I mean, I don't know.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Right on the Texas-Mexico border, you've got this entity called La Lechuza.
Oh yeah,
the owl witch. Stories say that it's a bruja who turns into a giant owl with a woman's face. It shows up at night, perches outside houses, and terrifies people.
Dude, that's so weird. We were literally just talking about Mike Cleland, the owl thing.
Yeah, because the other day a hawk dive bombed my head.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Or I mean, just kind of didn't really dive bomb my head, but it flew right above me. It was awesome.
Boy, when they're like remotely close, it is. You really suddenly understand like the predator prey.
Oh, I love it, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Because you were kind of like, I mean, you were like whimpering a little bit, but just the awe.
I was shook.
Yeah, very cool.
You of course got like chupacabra and that kind of thing, but again, it doesn't really feel like that.
No,
you've got this thing in Mexican and Southwest folklore called the duendes.
Oh, dude, I was just telling my kids about these.
This small, mischievous being that sneaks into homes, causes chaos, and sometimes harms people when they sleep.
They, for those that haven't looked into the duendes, they're almost just like a sort of the Mexican version of like a little brownie, or like even like the red caps, like those kind of like little, you know, diminutive dwarf, like tiny like little people. But one of the things that is interesting about the parallel between the duende and then this guy is the way that you explained how they would say that no matter how close you got, you still couldn't really make out his face. You said it was almost like shadows sort of clung to him.
Right.
That's one of the things with the duendes. I mean, they say they're like very fast, and it's interesting because Matt, a friend of mine that I used to work at the hospital, had showed me a video years and years and years ago. We're talking like early internet, and it was really weird. It was just like in these people's like house. Now you look and there's like a ton of AI, because I was just showing my girls these, and it's kind of, I mean, it sucks because it's like there's so many AI videos that are clearly fake, but yeah, I remember this video. There are a few videos, but they're just these like little, I mean, they're probably, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 to 12 inches tall, but they look like really dark, like almost like a moving like little shadow.
Man.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
It also kind of reminded me of, not to take it back to last week's episode about critters, but you know, like that whole shape-shifting vibe. Whenever you're trying to like see somebody's face and maybe they're in the middle of shape-shifting, you can't figure out what's going on. And keep in mind too, these are Indian tribes. I think sometimes in our imagination we almost imagine like these things are happening when someone walks into a room at night and it's like, oh well, they're just electricity's in there so they can see it. No. These are huts in, you know, the Southwest area where maybe they had a fire going, maybe not, you know? So it's dark. And so just imagine how much more terrifying that would be.
Yeah. Also, I like the idea, and one of the reasons I like the idea of like the duende, even though I think they're kind of, they tend to lean a little more into like malicious territory, like a little darker. I like the idea that maybe because they are
darker than this. I mean, this guy's like cutting your side open, ripping guts out. And
no. I'm just saying the duendes, just those creatures. I like the idea that those are just, it's just another version of like the fairy or the fae. They're just like, it's like Mexico's fae. You know, I think that's cool.
And I mean, again, this part of the thing that I should say, one of the things that we love so much on this show is seeing similarities across every culture. And so when we zoom out, even Mala Cosa adjacent type creatures or entities start showing up in similar forms all over the world. Oh man. Down in the Andes of Peru and Bolivia, you've got this entity called the fish taco.
Fish taco.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody's making like, hey, what do you want to eat? A fish taco. But it literally translates to be fat cutter or slaughterer. So it's described as this bearded outsider, often portrayed as white, who attacks at night with a knife, cuts people open, removes their fat or sometimes organs, and then the victims are left weakened or dead. The legend actually dates back to Spanish colonial times too. Believed that the fat was being harvested for medicine or weird rituals.
I was gonna say it
pretty
does,
close parallel there.
It does feel like, you know, the stories that you would hear. I mean, probably like 80s maybe, where I went on a trip to Singapore, or I went on a trip to wherever in Asia, and then I woke up in a bathtub full of ice, and like basically like organ harvesting. Yeah. It kind of feels like a version of that a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
But I will say, like, the thing that's to me at least, that takes this away from a cryptid, any sort of like Bigfoot kind of thing, is like having like a knife or having the brand or, you know, we don't really know what it's saying, but like it's at least dressing like a woman. Like, yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, because you don't really hear a lot of accounts that I'm aware of anyway, where you've got Bigfoot or Sasquatch like utilizing tools.
Yeah, well,
right?
the only thing that it sort of adjacently connects to in my mind is Timothy Renner talks about this like flannel man thing, which has like sort of, because he sort of brought this thing up, this idea that like you would see this like this sort of wild man archetype wearing like in flannel. It kind of goes back to like some of these anecdotal stories from people over the years where they talk about seeing like a Sasquatch or seeing Bigfoot wearing like clothing or wearing like a flannel shirt or like, so it's almost like, but I mean, I feel like wielding a knife is very different.
Yeah, it's next up. It's not just hipster Bigfoot anymore.
Well, no, I mean, you know, if Sasquatch is as smart as I think he is, you know, being able to totally avoid all sort of human interaction, I could see him running across like a campsite and being like, oh, this might keep me warm, and like putting on a shirt. Yeah. But like carrying around like a knife and then using it to do certain things, like that's kind of that's a different story.
Yeah. I mean, so the other thing is you've got, you know, we've talked about this one. This one actually doesn't really seem similar, but I just love to kind of bring it up. You know, over in the Philippines, you've got the Aswang. They're shape-shifting, you know, but they're a little bit more specific, you know, because that
Aswang
one and I think it was called the Manananggal or whatever, that detaches its upper body and flies around with huge wings and all that.
I thought it didn't have like no. I'm thinking of what was the one that had like the stomach or like the mouth? Like was it?
Yeah, that's
stomach?
the Manananggal. It has this long proboscis that sticks out, entrails, and just basically.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy, dude.
But you know what's interesting? I mean, you know, obviously the guy probably didn't put this in his book, but I would be interested to know if there's no way of knowing, but I would be interested to know if it was kind of known for, you know, kind of like those other entities you just talked about, where you would hear like a woman crying or a baby crying late at night. It was kind of doing those same kind of things to lure the people out,
right? You
know, out beyond the firelight.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been 500 years almost since this guy.
Hey man, I'm just hypothesizing.
Yeah. No, I like it.
I'm excited. I'm glad to be back. You know,
here's another one that's kind of, I guess, more, I would say, closer than say the Aswang, but in South Africa.
Did you say Mork?
No, more closer. More closer.
That's
closer.
Also wrong.
I would say one that is closer in comparison. Okay. Would be in South Africa. The Zulu folklore has this. It's called the Tokoloshi.
The Tokoloshi. Yep.
Small, just like our guy. Evil. I mean, pretty. I'm okay with giving him that badge. Bearded or hairy creature that lives underground or near water. It also sneaks into people's homes at night, climbs on their chests while they sleep, causing nightmares, illness, or physical harm.
And what do we know about that?
Yeah. I mean,
like the old hag.
You've also got the Pukwudgie, which did you mention that already?
No, but I love that.
Yeah.
I just
feel
love
like
the
you
name.
did. I don't know. But there's all these like sort of there's the Naimirigar and the Tahihan and Plains and Great Basin native stories that are these like cannibal little people who live underground and prey on humans. In Europe, you've got the Burkta. You've got all these different things that kind of have similar characteristics, but not quite the same.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, if you wanted to go modern with it, you know, you could draw some lines, I think, to alien abduction stories, the surgical procedures, the missing time.
Yeah.
You know, entities that sort of paralyze you with fear and then heal you up and leave scars.
Yeah. I really do like just your breakdown of like some of these other ones that kind of supposedly are like underground. You know, we were talking like the Darrow and all that kind of stuff a while back. You and I, and like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the exact same thing like as like the sort of the goblins or sort of the Hellier kind of, you know, in that direction per se, but I do think there is something to like these little people. I mean, even what was it, like the mountain that we just covered? Like, wasn't there like little dwarves or like elves that would go inside the mountain? Wasn't that like the?
Oh, you mean it was kind of around the legend of the Sleeping King?
Yeah. That's like where it was. But like, wasn't there also like small like dwarves that were...
there's stuff like that there in Austria and Germany. But do you remember? I mean, seasons ago when we kind of talked about. Well, I don't know if it was the red caps that we talked about, but other entities that are like that, some from Italy and Spain, that area that are small,
right.
you know, hairy, and live in like caves and quote unquote, you know, I mean, because like a cave, if you were from another part of the world, you're trying to describe a cave to somebody that's never seen one, you know, necessarily, you'd probably say, you know, like down in a crack in the earth, you know?
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, it's like the in the Catskills, like that's the red caps are kind of known for living in the mountains, you know. So I mean, and that's where roughly that's the area that we get like the story of like Rip Van Winkle and a lot of those kind of those similar sort of myths. So it's really I mean it's got to have some kind of connective tissue, but I do kind of like the idea that maybe he was just like a surgeon.
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
And or some European that had wandered off the trail, you know, that's how he had a beard. And you know,
and he just kind of maybe or dude, what if he was like this like serial killer?
Now you're talking.
He just happened to be on that ship that, you know, and then eventually he gets not Cabeza de Vaca ship, but just 15 years previously, that expedition.
Right.
His crew leaves him behind. He wants to stay there. And he just gradually makes his way.
Just taking people out.
I mean.
Just taking people out.
When did Jack the Ripper happen?
I was about to say, it's like sort of the
that was like 1700s, right?
No, I think that was 1800s.
Hold on, let me see. Yeah, late 1800s.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that is...
Oh, I love it, dude.
Mala Cosa.
I love it. I mean, I could have done without like the first half of this episode, but once
Come
you got...
on.
I'm kidding. It was
I just loved... honestly, part of the reason why I love this story is that... And I think it just gives it more... It's not just a tale that somebody wrote down.
Right.
As they were like Lewis and Clark, as they were like going through. It wasn't meant to capitalize on anything. In fact, it was such a small part of his entire book,
right,
that I kind of wonder, like, did he even consider not including it? You know, but maybe you get the vibe apparently in this book. I haven't read it, but from what I read about it and people's reviews of it, you get the vibe that he actually started to really sympathize for the people and sort of like loved them, you know?
Right.
And so maybe by including it, he sort of, you know, obviously not with hopes that they would ever read it, but
sort of like paying homage.
Yes, exactly.
To their stories
and for them, maybe, you know, taking care of him or, you know, treating him well while he was with them.
Now, did he never personally like encountered this thing, right?
No.
This was just sort of like oral traditions, I'm guessing, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
cool.
This is actually kind of interesting as we wrap it up. Later in life, Cabeza de Vaca actually got appointed governor down in South America and pushed for more humane treatment of native people. And he kind of got in some trouble for doing that, but he died around 1559 or so. His book apparently influenced later expeditions, including Coronado's. But again, the Mala Cosa has sort of been haunting the cryptid circles, but, you know, these lands, the stories of it have been haunting ever since.
I mean, like in your research, did you look to see if there's like other accounts of this thing, or is it kind of like...
dude, this is really the only thing
it only exists from this book?
Uh-huh.
Wow, Wow, see that? I love that.
And what's interesting too, because like, and I don't know if it's more of a regional thing. Maybe if we went and had access to some of these, what's left of the descendants of these tribes, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because so many of those South Central and into Mexico native tribes sort of got dispersed and intertwined with other tribes, and along the way, you know,
you kind of lose your
own
traditions.
tribal traditions and identity, but then also it just kind of gets watered down, and then maybe they don't even, you know, talk about it. But then again, on the opposite side of that, maybe they do. It's just not online. You know what I mean? And so I couldn't find any other mentions of it, which is just so intriguing to me.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so cool, man. Okay, so what do we think before we end the show? What is our conclusion? Like, what do you personally think it could be?
I mean, the shape-shifting thing is really the piece that you can't. Okay,
and
well, as I said that, you can't really justify it as it just being like, you know, a shipwrecked sailor who knew about medicine was trying to help them, and then it turned into sort of this exaggerated, he used to lift up houses, you know, maybe he was just strong and he was like helping them fix the hut. I don't know, but
he just like lifted a post, and they're like,
yeah,
he lifted
yes,
the whole
exactly, and they're like, he lifted the whole thing, my gosh. And but the shape-shifting part is the kind of weird thing. Now, that said, as I was saying that, I think of this hilarious sort of moment where this guy, maybe he gets drunk on some prickly pear alcohol that he's never had before, and he's just he sees them dressing up for their ceremonial dance, and him being from Europe, he's just like, this must be a play, and he just borrows some like clothes, and he's out there just like dancing around, having fun, you know, kidding around with a dress on or something.
Yeah.
And they're just like, he's shape-shifting. I mean, it's just hard to put your mind in perspective into someone that was living in the 1500s.
Yeah, that's what's tough, yeah.
As a native who had never seen much.
I do like the Phantom Stranger, or the Mysterious Stranger kind of like motif though here though. I think that's... So did he say that this was like a fairly common occurrence where this character would show up, or?
No, I think it was something like it happened
pretty rare,
a fair amount of times within that time period, and then it stopped.
Oh,
yeah.
So maybe it was just like a person, or
maybe like a rift in, you know, the dimensions, and it was
like a window area.
Yeah.
Wow. For our new listeners, you have no idea what we're talking about probably, but for our old listeners, you're tired of hearing the term window area.
Yeah.
No, I do like that. I really like that. Yeah, man.
What about you, man? I mean, what are your thoughts? Are just leaning more towards the Phantom Stranger?
Yeah.
I don't think it was a Bigfoot.
No. I don't think so either. I will say the other thing that's really throwing me off, which I don't even know if it should be throwing me off, is the beard. Because to me, well, okay, two things. On the one hand, I think them bringing up the beard kind of presents sort of even more sort of high strangeness in this. In the sense, what I mean by that is like, it's a detail that to your average person, they would, like, if we just read that like outside of the lens of these tribes people, like we would kind of just gloss right over it. But I think what, to your point of saying like, you know, none of them could really grow beards. Like it was, you know, that was like pretty far-fetched. But having this beard, you know, not really being able to see the face, but then also sort of shape-shifting into women. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think there is like some supernatural stuff like happening. I don't know that it's cryptid. I don't know that it's like even necessarily like a goblin kind of thing. Did they say, or your typical like inner earth dwarf goblin thing, those sort of tribes people of that time and in that location are already like pretty short. So like if they're saying this thing was short, like, I don't know, maybe it was like 3 feet tall.
Yeah.
And then if we knew that, then I'm like, oh, this is definitely getting into sort of more supernatural kind of stuff. But I do like the idea that he's, as mundane as it is, I like the idea that he's just like a surgeon from...
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because it's like, did he show up during a time where they were, having ayahuasca? Well, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he's just like, oh man, I can tell that this person has an ailment. And to them, it was just like, this stranger came in with a fiery brand and a huge knife, and
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, having all the tools though, to me that kind of like takes it back out of the paranormal.
Kind of, but it sort of like, again, it is similar to some of the other sort of things that we kind of mentioned in this episode, of little underground cannibal people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like having like a brand to like what I think we both agree is probably like some sort of cauterizing tool. Like, or is it closer to like what you said earlier, like sort of the alien abduction stuff?
Right.
And it's like, maybe it is like just a super high tech thing. And
then also, what if it was, not to always bring it back to time travel, but how would they describe a flashlight?
Yeah. Well, but I'm also thinking where I was like...
A lightsaber.
Well, sort of. Where I was going is like, maybe the people of the tribe are... I don't know how this mechanism works, but like, say that it is like some sort of extraterrestrial, and it's just using screen memories on all of them. So kind of like at the aerial school sighting, I think, was it like Zimbabwe, or is that the one in Australia? There's like 2 like school sightings to where a bunch of kids on the playground would see this craft basically land, and in both of the stories, like almost all of the kids like were seeing this thing completely different from what the kid beside them were seeing it. So it's almost like they're the mechanism of like making you see what they want you to see, or making you see what you think is culturally sort of normal. You know what I mean? So maybe it was actually using some kind of, the shape shifting was actually it making you see it a certain way. So, we brought up Mike Cleland and the Messengers and his like owl sort of theories, to where, the owl is consistently used in screen memories with like alien abduction cases, to where like, you were totally abducted by like an alien gray, but like in your mind, like you're seeing like an owl the whole time. So maybe it was just using this screen memory. So one person seeing it as a woman, the other person seeing it as, a small guy with a beard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not actually shape shifting, but it's just sort of shifting, if you will, the like perception of what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Interesting.
This one's just chock full of high strangeness, and I'm so thankful for Matt for sending this along, because I think it's awesome.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah. Well, it has been a pleasure to be back with you guys. It's been way too long. I'm still battling computers and hard drives and backups and all that stuff. So, but hopefully we are back on track, and we're back to a weekly occurrence. If you would like to send us your own story, like our friend Matt did, you can do so over on Instagram. Drop us a DM. If it's more long form, shoot it to thatwouldberadpod@gmail.com. Even better, if you would like to tell the story in your own voice. Maybe you've had your own paranormal encounter. Maybe you've, it's an urban legend in your small town out in Arkansas somewhere. We want to hear about it, and we would really love to hear it in your own voice. You can do so over at thatwouldberadpodcast.com and leave it on our voice memo feature to possibly be featured on a future episode and be part of like the history of That Would Be Rad. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is over on our Patreon, The Rabbit Trail. It's more of what you love. It's a little more content than this free feed, which is just Woody and I, like, all graphics, all sound design, everything that we do is just him and I. We have no help from anyone else. So it really does mean the world to us, and it helps keep the lights on. Tell that weird friend about the show. Leave a 5-star review so we can help game the algorithm. And I don't know, you got anything else, Woody?
I think that's it, pal.
See, I'll let you finish. I'm in a very generous mood. I feel so good to be back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we love you. We appreciate you. And as always,
be rad.
That's the way it goes. Clouds in a time where I just needed some sunshine. You were already dead before you became a ghost. You always said our future would be a parade of flowers.